Hey guys, Kayla from K Crochets here. Today I'm going to teach you how to make the branch out mittens. This pattern includes sizes child, adult, and large adult. I love this design for so many reasons. They are lightweight, flexible, unisex design, top-down construction. Another reason I love these mittens is because they match my branch out beanie. All right, so if you want to find any of these branch out patterns, you can find the links down below. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about what you're gonna need to get started. All right, to make these awesome hand huggers, you are going to need a tape measure, a blunt threading needle, a pair of scissors, a 3.5mm crochet hook, and a 4mm crochet hook. You're also going to need some sport weight yarn. You can find the yardage and all of the links to the products that I used in the description down below. So gather up those materials and let's get started. To begin, go ahead and grab your 4mm hook and your yarn and start off by making a magic circle. If you do not know how to make a magic circle or the basic stitches in crochet, I highly recommend clicking the link at the top right of this video, learning those, and then coming back. For round one, you will chain one, and this chain one will never count as a stitch. You will then place 5, 6, or 8 single crochets around the magic circle. Once you've worked your single crochets, go ahead and tighten your magic circle. I like to pull the tail down, back up, and then back down again to really close it. You're then going to slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch. And to begin round 2, you're going to chain 1 tightly. You're then going to place 2 back loop single crochets in each stitch around. At the end of round 2, you should have doubled your stitch count. You will then slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch. Round 3, you're going to tightly chain 1 and back loop single crochet in each stitch around. At the end of round 3, I am now going to slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch to finish the round. And now you simply repeat round 3 until your thumb measures 1.5 inches for kids, 2.5 inches for adult, or 3 inches for large adult. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you back here for the final round. Alrighty, I believe I've worked my last round. I'm going to measure just to make sure. I am personally making a size large, so it should be around 2.5 inches, and it is, so we're good to go forward. You are going to want to finish off and leave a long tail. We are going to use that tail for seaming later. You are then going to place your little thumb to the side, and we are going to move on to the upper mitten. To begin the upper mitten, we are going to make a magic circle just like we did for the thumb. And we are going to start by chaining 2 very tightly. This chain 2 does not count as a stitch. You will then place 8, 10, or 12 double crochets around the magic circle. All right, once you have the correct stitch count, you're going to want to pull the tail tight to close the magic circle. You are then going to slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch. All right, for round 2, you're going to tightly chain 1. Again, this never counts as a stitch. You are then going to place a back loop double crochet and a front post double crochet in each stitch around. To do that, start by placing 1 back loop double crochet in the first stitch. We're now ready to make our first front post double crochet. So you're going to want to yarn over, place your hook from right to left around round 1's chain 2, and first double crochet right here. So again, going from right to left under the chain 2 and double crochet from round 1, yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. This front post double crochet does count as an increase for this round, so we will not be skipping a stitch behind it. Okay, let's do that one more time together. You're going to back loop double crochet into the next stitch, and let's go ahead and front post double crochet around the next double crochet in round 1. So right here, going from right to left, yarning over and pulling up a loop. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So continue to place 1 back loop double crochet and 1 front post double crochet in each stitch around, and I will meet you at the end of round 2. Coming up at the end of round 2, you should be finishing with a front post double crochet. This is what your work should look like so far. And then we're going to slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch. All right, round 3, go ahead and chain 1, place a back loop single crochet in the first stitch and 2 back loop single crochets in the next stitch. And that is going to be a repeat around, so back loop single crochet, 2 back loop single crochets. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you at the end of round 3. At the end of round 3, you should finish with 2 back loop single crochets, and then you're going to slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch. And this is what your work should look like so far at the end of round 3. You should have a total of 24, 30, or 36 stitches. So go ahead and count that and make sure you're on track. All right, so the next 2 rounds are the exact same. You're going to chain 1 and back loop single crochet in each stitch around, slip stitching into the back loop of the first stitch. So go ahead and work those 2 rounds, and I will meet you back for round 6. Okay, we are now ready for round 6. Go ahead and chain 1 and place 1 back loop single crochet in the first stitch. We are now going to place our first front post double crochet, but what makes it different than most patterns is where you're wrapping your hook around. So instead of going around a single crochet post, we're actually going to be going around the vertical bar between the 2 single crochets. So count 2 rounds down, and I'm going to be working right here. So going from right to left, wrap your hook around that bar, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And since this is not an increase round, that front post double crochet will need to have a stitch behind it left unworked. Go ahead and place a back loop single crochet in the next stitch and prepare your hook for another front post double crochet. You're going to need to skip 1 post 2 rounds down. Right there, skip that one and go around the next post like so. And that is the repeat around, so go ahead and back loop single crochet in the next stitch, front post double crochet in the next stitch, always remembering to skip a post between each front post double crochet like so. Continue to repeat that around, and I will meet you at the end of round 6. I'm at the end of round 6, finishing the round with a front post double crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch. And this is what your work should look like at the end of round 6. All right, the next 3 rounds, so round 7, 8, and 9 are all the same. You're going to chain 1 and back loop single crochet in each stitch around. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you at the end of round 9. Coming up at the end of round 9, I am going to slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch. And guys, those are the repeat rounds. So you're going to repeat rounds 6 through 9 until your upper mitten measures 4, 5, or 6 inches, making sure to end on a round 6 repeat. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you right back. Alrighty, my upper mitten measures 5 inches, and for a size adult, that is the length that I need. So we are now ready to attach the thumb. So go ahead and grab that thumb piece and prepare to make the right-handed mitten. If you've already made the right-handed mitten, fast forward to the left hand. Alright, to begin round 1, you're going to need to chain 1 and back loop single crochet in the first stitch. You're then going to want to grab your thumb piece, and you're going to back loop single crochet into the first stitch right there. You're then going to back loop single crochet around until 2 stitches remain on the thumb. You are then going to skip those last 2 stitches on the thumb and skip the next 2 stitches on the upper mitten. You are then going to single crochet, not back loop single crochet like the video is showing, but single crochet into the next stitch. That will help create less of a gap and will have to seam less later. You're then going to back loop single crochet in each stitch around. Coming up at the end of round 1, you are going to slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch. You should now have 30, 38, or 48 stitches. Your work should look like this at the end of round 1. You will have this giant hole right here. Don't worry about that. We will seam that up at the very end with that extra long tail. Alright, rounds 2 and 3 are the same. You are going to chain 1, back loop single crochet in each stitch around, and slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you at the end of round 3. Coming up at the end of round 3, I'm just going to finish this round by slip stitching into the back loop of the first stitch. Round 4, you're going to chain 1 and back loop single crochet in the next 11, 13, or 17 stitches. Alright, and then in the next stitch we are going to place a front post double crochet. So I'm going to count 2 rows down and go around this post right here. And this is not an increase, so I'm going to skip a stitch behind it. And then the repeat for round 4 is back loop single crochet in the next stitch, front post double crochet in the next stitch. So go ahead and repeat that all the way around, and I will meet you at the end of this round. I'm ending round 4 with a front post double crochet and then slip stitching into the back loop of the first stitch. Rounds 5 through 7 are all the same, so the next 3 rounds are all going to be chain 1 and back loop single crochet in each stitch around, slip stitching into the back loop of the first stitch. Once you finish those 3 rounds, you will then repeat rounds 4 through 7 until your entire mitten measures the proper size, making sure to end on a round 7 repeat. So go ahead and pause the video, work those rounds, then come back and fast forward to the ribbing section. For round 1, you're going to start by chaining 1, and we are simply going to start by back loop single crocheting in each stitch around until 3 stitches remain on the upper mitten. Alright, I have 3 stitches left on the upper mitten. So 1, 2, 3. I am now going to single crochet in the next stitch, making sure to go under 2 loops. I'm then going to skip the last 2 stitches on the upper mitten and grab my thumb piece. It then says to back loop single crochet in the 3rd stitch on the thumb. So go ahead and count 3 over, starting right here, and back loop single crochet into that stitch, skipping the first 2 stitches. When making this stitch, make sure that you pull your working yarn fairly tight just so it doesn't make a gap. It then says to back loop single crochet in each stitch around the thumb until 2 stitches remain. You are then going to skip those 2 stitches on the thumb. So 1, 2, skip 2 stitches on the upper mitten, and then slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch. Rounds 2 and 3 are both the same. You're then going to chain 1 and back loop single crochet in each stitch around, slip stitching into the back loop of the first stitch. So go ahead and work those 2 rounds and we'll meet back at the end of round 3. Coming up at the end of round 3, I'm just going to slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch. Round 4, you're going to chain 1 and back loop single crochet in the first stitch. You're then going to front post double crochet in the next stitch. And that is the repeat around until 10, 12, or 16 stitches remain. So go ahead and do that and I'll meet you at the end of this round. Alright, I'm at the end of round 4 and I have 12 stitches remaining. I am now going to back loop single crochet in each remaining stitch. And we're going to finish the round by slip stitching into the back loop of the first stitch. And this is what your work should look like so far. And remember to just ignore that hole. We will come back and seam that later. All right, the next 3 rounds are the same. So rounds 5, 6, and 7 are all going to be chain 1, back loop single crochet in each stitch around, slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch. And then after you work those 3 rounds, you will then repeat rounds 4 through 7 until the entire mitten measures the proper length, making sure to end on a round 7 repeat. So go ahead and do that and then come back for the ribbing section. Okay, so unfortunately I ran out of this gray yarn, but no big deal. I made another one in like a mustard yellow and I'm picking up at the same point. So let's go ahead and measure, make sure it's the proper length for the size that you're making. And mine is 7.5, and for size adult, that is what I need. Now we're gonna move on to the ribbing. You're gonna need to grab your smaller 3.5mm crochet hook. And to begin round 1, you're gonna start by chaining 1 and placing 1 back loop single crochet in the first stitch. And then front post double crochet in the next stitch. And the difference on this round is that that is the repeat all the way around. We are now no longer leaving this texture on the thumb. The ribbing is going to go all the way around, like so. That's what it's going to end up looking like. So again, the repeat is back loop single crochet in the next stitch, front post double crochet in the next stitch. So go ahead and do that and I'll meet you at the end of this round. At the end of round 1, I am finishing the round with a front post double crochet and then slip stitching into the back loop of the first stitch. Round 2, you're going to chain 1 and you're simply going to back loop single crochet in each stitch around. So go ahead and do that and I will meet you at the end of round 2. I'm finishing up round 2 by slip stitching into the back loop of the first stitch. Round 3, You are going to chain 1, and the repeat around is back loop single crochet and then front post double crochet around front post double crochet. So the only difference with this front post double crochet is you're wrapping it around the front post double crochet already created 2 rounds down right there. Let's do that together one more time. You're going to back loop single crochet in the next stitch and then front post double crochet around front post double crochet. All right, so go ahead and repeat that around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 3. I'm ending round 3 with a front post double crochet around front post double crochet and then slip stitching into the back loop of the first stitch. You will now repeat rounds 2 and 3, ending with a round 3 repeat until the ribbing measures approximately 1.5 inches or your desired length, and finish off. So go ahead and crochet the rest of your ribbing and then come back for the finishing instructions. All right, you guys, we are so close to being done. You're going to need to grab that blunt threading needle so we can seam that hole and weave in our ends. To do so, we are going to need to turn our mitten inside out. Go ahead and grab the extra long tail that we left for seaming from the thumb. If you didn't happen to do that, just attach a new strand of yarn. And we are going to start seaming in the corner. So not into the unworked stitches, but actually into the corner where we've placed single crochets already. And when seaming, make sure to always work under 2 strands of yarn like so to create less gaps. So just whip stitch back and forth, going under at least 2 strands of yarn all the way across. Just to show you, here are our 2 unworked stitches on the upper mitten. Here are our 2 unworked stitches on the thumb. I'm working in the corner first and then working into those unworked stitches. Once you have seamed across, you will then finish off and weave in all of your ends. You then just have to rewind and rewatch this video to make the left-handed mitten. And if you've already made the left-handed mitten, I just want to say thank you so very much for watching this tutorial. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see any other tutorials from me, just let me know in the comments below and I'll try and get that done for you. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great day and happy making.